amigos, Javier here for Hum of the Earth. Signing in from Bolivia's capital and biggest city, La Paz, which means the peace in English. And today we'll be doing a tour of the city and diving into its history, people, and culture. Welcome to La Paz's famous witch market, Mercado de la Bruja. So La Paz is a very superstitious city. They worship Pacham, I believe it's called, which is Mother Earth. And they believe that, as many indigenous people in Latin America did, that you have to make sacrifices for things to go well in the future. So for a small thing, like maybe doing well on a quiz, you would do a sacrifice of maybe candy, alcohol, cigarettes that you would bury to do well on your quiz. And for something bigger, like building your house, you would offer a llama fetus that you would bury underneath the foundation of the house before building the house. Because even though you bought the land still belongs to Pachamama. And in some cases, for really big projects like building a really big building or a bridge or a new company or a corporation or something like that, it's been said that people have decided to offer a human sacrifice to ensure the success of the project. And there's actually a book that's been written about this by one of the persons who was taken but not successfully sacrificed. And the book's called I Was Drunk, but I Remember. It's only written in Spanish. So what would happen in these situations is you would look for a target for someone that is not going to be missed, that people are not going to go looking for. So this would be done by going to an area with a lot of homeless people, wielding a lot of alcohol, offering free alcohol, and beginning to talk to them about their life in the street, their family, if their family misses them. And once they find someone that it seems that doesn't have any contact with their family anymore, or their family's kind of abandoned them or doesn't care about them, then they will offer them an invitation to a party where they will be given food and more alcohol until the person naturally passes out. At which point the person will be buried alive, because Pachamama has to take the person alive as a sacrifice. So it's been said that human remains have been found buried underneath construction sites, and they believe that this is the reason why. This is San Francisco Plaza. This busy street here. Underneath it, there's a river that still flows. And before, it used to kind of demarcate, separate the city between the Spanish side, which was that side, which still has a lot of Spanish architecture, and this side, which was the indigenous side. So when the Spanish were colonizing, they wanted to convert everybody to be Catholic. So they built this church, but they enlisted the help of the indigenous people because they needed the help first, and because they wanted them to incorporate elements that would make it more appealing to them. And something else they did to kind of trick people into coming to church is that they put mirrors in the church, something that the locals had never seen before, and told them that the mirrors, when they were looking at them, was looking into their soul, and that their souls were here in the church, and that they need to come regularly to kind of regain their soul, or else their soul would go to hell. And this, for the most part, worked. The locals attended church, but did not lose their customs relating to Pachamama, Mother Earth. So they were kind of dual citizens of these two faiths, and a lot of people still are today. So you may have noticed that some of the women have really interesting outfits, which look similar to the indigenous outfits to the women in Peru, Ecuador, and even Guatemala. But unlike those places, they're not Quechua. The indigenous people of La Paz are actually Aymara. And the correct term for the women would be Cholitas. Outfits are actually influenced by Europeans who initially came here to colonize. There's the big dresses that once upon a time had a cage underneath, and the local woman found that to be a good look and kind of adopted it with their own twists. You may have also noticed the little hats, which are kind of specific to this area. And the story behind these is that they were sent here from Europe. They were told that people in Latin America were smaller, so they made really small hats, but they were kind of too small. But they were tried to actually sell them to men at first, and the men weren't buying it, and then were kind of marketed to the women as the new latest fashion. This actually worked quite well. The women found that it made them look taller, and it became a viral craze. Speaking of appearance, beauty standards for the Cholita are pretty different than what you might have currently in Europe or in North America. And this is that beautiful usually consists of being kind of wider, stronger, having big calves. And this is because the women typically work in the market. Traditionally, men would look for a woman that looked strong enough to be able to bring lots of stuff to market to sell it. And men would typically have jobs that are not selling stuff in the market, like construction work or driving a truck or selling electronics. This is the Mercado Lanza, where you can buy fresh fruits and vegetables, as well as prepared food. This is kind of the smaller, the first floor is the produce. This is kind of like snacks and coffee. And if you go up another floor, it's full meals. And this is where I've eaten every meal so far here in La Paz. Food has been really delicious and really cheap. A meal is usually 10 Bolivianos, which is less than $2 US. And apparently this is a local snack here in La Paz. It's a potato pocket. Potato is one of the main produce around here. You can either have, this one has meat and carrots and onions, or you can have other things like cheese or chicken. And it is pretty tasty and filling. Now that we've had something to eat, let's head to the European side. This is Plaza Emilio, named after Pedro Jail, one of Bolivia's heroes in independence. This is the cathedral, the presidential palace, which does not house the president anymore because of back in the day there was protests and people tried to burn down the building, so he moved somewhere else. In current day he lives in the massive building behind it and actually occupies 5 floors of it, and it's the House of the People is what it's called. And this is the Parliamentary Building, which has a backwards clock, which was made to kind of symbolize that they were going to go back in time and erase some of the Western influence that didn't really do the country so well. Notably, they had a president which was born in La Paz but lived in the US, had US citizenship, and came here and decided to turn the country into a capitalist nation. Privatized a lot of sectors which were previously public, and it did not really turn out so well. And later did some other things, like sold the part of the world famous salt flats to one of the, I believe George Bush Sr. or someone in his family, or tried to sell it, and did some other things that were generally unfavorable, and which led him to actually flee the country And before doing so, he went to the National Bank, took as much money as he could, and fled to Maryland in the United States, in California, where there's no extradition. So that explains that clock. Welcome to San Pedro Plaza. Not the biggest or nicest plaza, but maybe the most interesting, because this pink building over here is the San Pedro Jail, which is located right downtown, which is one thing that's odd. What's even odder is how the jail actually operates. So because of riots that happened in the past, and just the cost of running a prison, namely the staff, etc., this prison is actually governed by the inmates. It was called a auto rehabilitation program. So there are no police officers or members of the law who are actually working inside the jail. There's only 20 police officers who monitor the perimeter area to make sure people aren't escaping. So the inmates govern themselves. They have an elected president, etc. And inside the jail there's even restaurants, stores, and you can buy anything if you have the money for it, which is very different than your typical jail. So that's going to do it for the city tour and history of La Paz, Bolivia, the capital city. Definitely enjoyed what I've seen and experienced so far of the city. Very cool. Very unique, and I'm looking forward to some more unique activities that you can only do here in La Paz, such as riding the cable car and getting amazing views of the city, as well as probably the most unique, Cholita wrestling, where the Cholitas, the indigenous women that we talked about earlier, square off in some WWE style professional wrestling. So I can't wait to witness that. So these are all things that will be included in the upcoming videos of La Paz, which will be coming up next on this YouTube channel, Hum of the Earth. I was here in La Paz as part of my journey bicycling from Canada to Argentina. If you'd like to see an interactive map of everywhere that I went and everything that I did and experienced, I have that available over on my website, followthehumoftheearth.com, where you can click on the different locations and see the different blog posts and videos I've made of those places. And if you'd like to follow my continuing adventures, you can do so by subscribing to the YouTube channel by clicking on the red button below the video, and click the like if you like the video. Alright, that's gonna do it. Have a great one.